is up, everybody? Terminus here with another reaction, and it's gonna be Frieren episode 17. 𝐸𝐭 no Frieren episode 17. We're back with the series. It was on hiatus last week during Christmas time, and I'm just gonna jump back into it. I'm not feeling really great today. I'm kind of a little bit meh, right? Don't have the energy, but I think we're gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna jump in and we're gonna look at, I think maybe there's gonna be a new OP probably. We do have that midway pause, and we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty of the OP probably a little bit later, maybe in February or something, but well, if there is one. But we're definitely gonna just narrow down and see what's happening to our friend Psych here, and what decision he ultimately makes, and how we're gonna contextualize that. I do hope that I'm actually up for the task, that the mental cogs are working and everything is going on fine. But yeah, let's just get the thing on the screen, shall we? This is, after all, a reaction, and we should be doing it as we're always doing it. Alright. Bam! Oh no, I'm an idiot. I actually started up episode 17 immediately. I'm a fucking genius. Bam, that's 16. Alright, here we go. Let's scroll through it for a second. We did have Psych kind of ruminating on his problem in the beginning of the episode. Very nice way to kind of separate the portions of the episode, to just start with Psych and his like thought process going on in the back of his head as we make our way through the episode, and then not focus on Psych for a pretty long time. And just focus on the party in general. Little moments between Stark and Fen, I really love it. And we focus on Old Man Vol, or Old Man Vol, who kind of is very old and has like failing memories and whatnot, and we're not sure is it dementia, is it actually just normal memory loss, which is a differentiation you have to make. Because there's a lot of differences here, but we are kind of dealing with memories in general and forgotten things, right? Because we do draw that parallel later on about forgotten heroes, right? And past generations. It's very interesting because from what I've read, you people say in the comments, it seems to be very much that people like elves and dwarves in society are actually treated differently on a general level. People recognize that those are long-lived species, that they have different customs and whatnot, but they're not treated as differently as you might want to expect in your typical fantasy story. We do have a little bit of a Stark mini training, not really training. We just see him shortly training with Old Man Vol, and he's kind of carrying that giant boulder around, like, what the fuck, Stark? But yeah, he's strong, right? It's his namesake after all, and we're helping a little bit with the village and whatnot. And you really do see that Frieren had such a big, well, not big, such a enjoyable time for herself. She's talking to the old man throughout the entire episode here. Here we go. Like I said last time, he's on some Sisyphus shit. But yeah, we do see these snapshots of like Stark is tired, and Fern's kind of watching out for him, or giving him a play. Man, Stark is really going through the ringer. I feel like in retrospect, as we're seeing here, I didn't even notice that as much. But yeah, all you see is like Frieren talking to Vol, and everybody else is kind of existing around it, which is a very nice way to highlight that she's really engrossed in that, and that she's enjoying talking to someone that she's not met for a long time, somebody from the old previous days, kind of. Funny how Cyan is kind of getting what I think is Stark or Frieren into bed. One of them is kind of taking care of them. It's very, very nice. Folk can still slay, apparently, right? We do still have that. I love these transitions of, like, right, you have a more far away shot, and then you go past the tree, and the second you are past the tree, you zoom in. I mean, obviously it's emulating a lot of the camera techniques that Hollywood and cinema, filmmaking in general, employs, that are very, very tried and tested and whatnot. Love the general color palette, the luminescence when they're talking about ethereal concepts such as remembering your lost loved ones, and really Fall asking Frieren these questions about, hey, do you remember him in all of who he was? And Frieren kind of feels somewhat insulted, not heavily insulted, right? She isn't somebody to be really offended that easily, but she feels a little bit attacked by that. But he asks that, kind of putting Himmel on the same level kind of as his wife, in terms of like what Himmel was to Frieren in comparison to him, to his wife, actually, which is very impressive. That I don't know how long they knew him, because we only have one scene of them actually communicating with one another, where they just kind of talk to one another and exchange ideas and whatnot. But it's very impressive that he actually sees that either through back in the day, remembering how it was, or just kind of, and that is a thing I suspect that is maybe more what why Fall actually knows that Himmel is on that level of importance to Frieren, probably listening a lot to what she's talking about here in the present when they have these long conversations, and constantly hearing the theme of Himmel, 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 and how she talks about him probably too. This is an incredibly detailed shot. It's amazing, right? Like the eyes kind of sunken in, all of the oh yeah, no, I had it right. All of those greases and folds kind of being testament to how old he is, and obviously also his armor and his helmet show that too. All the little chips in it, the wear and tear. And he does remember his wife to a degree, but it's more like I mean, think about something that you know from your childhood, right? Thinking back to when you were 5 or 6 or maybe even 8 or 10. Do you still remember clearly how the people looked you interacted with, if you haven't seen them more recently? And even then, do you represent them in your mind as they are more recently, or do you can you remember how they looked back in the day? And that is really hard without pictures or anything else. This is why we keep pictures. This is why we have portraits, even before pictures were a thing. Because before photographs were a thing, you had, at least rich people, of course, having drawn portraits for themselves to kind of freeze a moment in time, which is very important. And there we have this person who you really loved, and maybe all of these feelings are still there, and you remember all of these amazing moments that you had with them, but you remember them on an emotional level and on like on a semantic level, on a what happened kind of level, but not on a visual level, because our visual memory is very well, I want to say it has a lot of recency bias, right? And it's not as clear if the further we think back to things that are pretty far in the past and whatnot. And even then, like, right, the visual representations and whatnot, it's very hard, and it depends all how often you actually got the stimulus. Now, he probably saw his wife pretty often, but that's still not enough for 300 years of or 200 years of being apart. We do get a lot of heartfelt moments here, and it gets us thinking about these concepts of remembering people that we knew and all of that. I love all of these like subtle moments of Frieren. I said it before, Frieren smiling and being very very different from how we saw her in the beginning of the story, which I find very interesting, because it would kind of almost be natural if we were with her on this journey, right? That if we would have met her the time when when they came back and Himmel died and whatnot, and if we actually were kind of like an invisible observer or an invisible companion that just trotted along, met, were present at the moment that she met Fern, and when she decided to go on this entire quest to heaven, to Aureole, to actually meet her long lost love, because I do think there is no doubt in my or anyone's mind at this point that this is the that this is the journey she's taking, and that without Himmel she might have done something here and there to understand humans a little bit better, or to just in general remember her companions, but it wouldn't have been as extreme as it turned out to be now. And I feel like this is kind of how it feels very natural that in the beginning we would see more of the deadpan, the emotionless or not showing emotion, the stoic side of Frieren. And as we move on in the story, we go further into noticing little intricacies and details and little moments that put a lot of an impression on us, that there's more to Frieren than you might have initially thought. And I don't think, I mean, it's easy to make that conclusion that a lot of people come to, that this is just her learning to have emotion, but she's been alive for hundreds of years. For this to just suddenly happen out of the blue, I don't think this would be a natural kind of development, because there's nothing that indicates that before Himmel died, or even before she met Himmel, that there wasn't connections that she had to her own people as well as people like Flamme over the years that had contained a lot of her learning about humans, learning about emotions, learning about intricate things, and learning about herself, right? Because after all, her feeling these emotions, this isn't just gonna happen after hundreds of years, unless there's some specific thing about alien physiology that would kind of suggest that. And even assuming like there's special cases of like early childhood, when people grow up in the wild without any kind of society and without any kind of guidance, even from parents or siblings or whatnot, right? We do have these specific, very rare cases of people growing up with animals or alone in the wilds. They don't survive long, right? They don't have the proper emotions, and they they can't read the social cues, they can't read the all of the memes and whatnot, the way we communicate verbally and non-verbally, and they can't learn communication later on, at least if they spend most of their childhood within or away from society. So what we see here is definitely, in my opinion, not something like that, where it's like, oh, all of these emotions and whatnot and social interactions, they were a thing that wasn't anything for me, right? I didn't feel anything and I didn't connect on any level. And now suddenly I do. That's very, very strange, and it wouldn't make sense from like just a normal developmental psychology kind of viewpoint. So what makes the most sense to me here is just that now we get to see it more, and also obviously now she tends to show it more, because we had that whole theme about her hiding her true self thanks to what Flam was saying, and also her trauma about her village and the life she had before Flam found her, which in my opinion is a big determinator to how you behave outside, right? How you behave in the world and interact with people. And I think in many ways what Frieren said in the very beginning of the story, when she started traveling with Fan, like shortly after they started traveling, is no, we're the same. And that applies to that as well, because Frieren has been holding people at a distance very long, and there were very few people who actually broke that distance, that being Flam, and then later 𝐏𝐢𝐏, and with the help of 𝐏𝐢𝐏 obviously also 𝐈𝐦𝐩 and 𝐈𝐦𝐩, because it connected her to 𝐏𝐢𝐏. And it also, I mean, they're nice people, right? And she spent a lot of time with them, relatively seen. And even though she probably spent a lifetime with Flam, and we can still extrapolate on that probably, and further down the storyline we can get more into details about the times that we haven't seen her spending with Flam, that she learned things or interacted and had emotional moments or very heartfelt moments and whatnot. I'm sure we're gonna see that down the line, and she spent innumerable years more with Flam than she spent with 𝐏𝐢𝐏 and 𝐈𝐦𝐩 and 𝐈𝐦𝐩. But at the same time, who do you think she spent the most time with if you rank them? The first will be Flam, but the second will probably be the heroes party. And then maybe, like, way further down comes other people. I do think even people like Fan will be somebody who's now spent a significant amount of time with her, more than most other people have spent with her. And I'm not talking about her being in the same place, because we had that before, right? That she's like, sometimes that she has the tendency to kind of stay in the same place for multiple years, maybe even half a decade or something, in order to just find out something when she finds a magic shop that has a lot of interesting books or whatnot. But I think this is different, because this is not her spending a big amount of time with people, but more her spending a big amount of time within a place and getting to know people from a distance, right? It's different to live with someone every day, every hour, and just spend a life or a big portion of your life together, or to just live in the same community or environment and having kind of the choice to meet these people whenever you feel like it, but also having the choice to just go somewhere else and not be around these people. And depending on your tendencies, that will change the time you spend with these people by a large margin, I would say. But yeah, Reminiscence, looking back, beautiful shots, beautiful lighting especially. And fitting lighting for the conversations at hand. It's a lot of sad, melancholic, but also very, very happy feelings for Frieren, I would say. Talking to somebody who known the old days, who knew 𝐏𝐢𝐏 as well, who made personal experiences that may be similar to what Frieren is going through, like loss of somebody important that is more short-lived than you. I still love the outfit, by the way, the scarf, it's amazing. But yeah, we talk about a little bit, and Frieren kind of notices that he isn't all the way there, right? Sometimes he just forgets entire, like, fundamental facts that he actually learned a long time ago. It's just it's natural, I guess, and it shouldn't be something that worries us too much, as long as the person is still capable of taking care of themselves for the most part, which is the important thing, right? That you're somewhat happy and content. And even then we do see there's memory recovery happening thanks to the triggers that are happening here. I just recently saw a very interesting very interesting Bollywood movie with a friend that is very recent, where the main theme was triggering, not the main theme, right? The main theme was kind of a love story or whatever, but there was, like, part of that main theme was the grandpa kind of losing his memory, and and it being triggered by a specific person or specific elements. And yeah, that's very, very real, that fact, right? Because certain things are really ingrained into us, and it's not always everything, like it doesn't always need to make logical sense in terms of like the severity or what kind of weight we put on it. It's more like sometimes a single moment that was very impressive for us, or that kind of connected to us in a very real way, can trigger a memory and have us remember something that we might have otherwise forgotten, even if that thing that we now remember is maybe emotionally more important, or like in general as in terms of like the the hierarchy of importance, than that single moment that made us remember it. But that single moment kind of like gave us a very, very unique connection. Maybe also a connection that hasn't been made all that often. But yeah, it's very interesting how memory works. Very interesting how in general, right, emotionally and whatnot, we do know that different parts of the brain, I already said that, but repeat a short bit of it. Different parts of the brain are responsible for just for different parts of a memory, and it's a reconstructive process. You save the information, the factual information about an event or something happening to you and whatnot, and then you save that in one part of the brain, and you save the emotional information about an event that happened, and you save that in another part of your brain, and then you save maybe also the central, right, the not in that way central, the auditory and the visual information, you save that in another part of your brain, which is and then it gets reconstructed when that memory gets triggered, or you're searching for it, then you go back to one of these things, and then from one of these things the connections to the other ones get triggered, and it kind of moves it all back together, but it reconstructs it, and that is how memory errors can happen as well, right? But memory is never accurate. It's never perfectly just right. Even, I mean, there's eidetic memory, but it's oftentimes just a thing in very young people. I mean, I don't want to say it's not a thing in adults or even older adults, but it's very, very rare if it is. Most of the time, eidetic memory, which generally, like in the common vernacular, people call photographic memory, which is not entirely correct in terms of the definition, but it's very much, you're gonna lose it if you have it as a teenager. You're probably gonna lose it. It's not gonna be one-to-one at that point. Now, where does the phenomenon come from? I actually don't know. I haven't read that far into it. It's still a fascinating topic, right? If I had all the time in the world, I would read about all of these topics. But yeah, there's priorities. Frieren has priority. And yeah. And then we spent the second half of that thing we have a lot of talking, right? Recapping, being just like a little bit precising. We have the gorilla goat, as Pink put it. He just named himself Gorilla Warrior and just went with it. I mean, that is a choice to make. We talked about bridges last time, and we do have that journey. Love that one with the one eye open. It's gives you the feeling, in my opinion, if somebody has one eye open and looking at people and like scheming something or whatever, or having some thoughts in the back of your mind. Don't know why that is, but it feels that way. And we're doing fetch quests and helping her with various stuff, and then she just points us the right way, possibly. We do have Kraft's statue, which very, very cool, very interesting, with the little flashback of both of them. Forgotten heroes, and here we have the connective tissue, right? Memories, forgotten people that we loved, forgotten heroes in right, big people that saved the world, and nobody remembers their names anymore because it's been so long. It's been so many generations. right? I mean, there's also I mean, how do you know people from the history books, right? You know, because it gets written down at some point. Now things get lost over time. We have amazing technologies these days, and you can uncover a lot of cool things by just digging in old ancient ruins, or having computer programs and algorithms that reconstruct completely crumpled kind of completely crumpled sheets of parchment or paper that are thousands of years old, and just kind of reconstruct how the letters looked, and then you can kind of figure out what language they used, and then hopefully, right, and then you can maybe figure out what they wrote about, and that is amazing. But right here we don't have that. We might have magic that does that, but how many people actually do it? And I'm sure there are chroniclers out there, people who kind of like have old books and tomes, and maybe Kraft and his companion, whoever he was, are actually in those tomes. But how many people in the countryside especially, or just in different countries where those heroes weren't native, how many people would actually remember them? And then we go back to like the age of mythology and whatnot, and Kraft might actually be old enough to remember the goddess, and in that case, wow, that's so far back that it's very believable that people forgot their names. And even if the statues are still here, right? I mean, statues last a long ass time, especially if they're being maintained and if it's just passed on from generation to generation. But things get lost with word of mouth and whatnot, and at some point people just do it for the sake of it, right? My father, my mother used to tend to the statue, so I'm gonna do it as well. I don't know how the people what's the name of the people that the statue depicts, but well, right, I'm gonna tend to it anyway. Maybe there was a name plaque at some point and it got lost. But yeah, we do connect that. It's like, it's in a sense, right, metaphorically, like, I forgot their name. I know how they looked, I know how they acted. I forgot their name. I know what deeds they're responsible for, but I forgot their name, right? You forget parts of, and the world as a collective, memory of all time forgets it, because it's been so long, because the world is so old, right? And in that way, metaphorically, you could say that the world is old man full, and it's getting older and older, and right, as time goes on, it's gonna be hard to remember all of these things that happened in the first 50 or 100 years of your lifetime. Now, obviously, the metaphor breaks apart when you start saying that the more recent memories are the ones that the world remembers the best, because oftentimes when people get old, it's actually the older memories that those people remember, because those are memories that kind of, first of all, memories of our youth and like young adulthood are very significant for us, because a lot of new stuff is happening during that time, and also because in like the main phase of our lives, there's a lot of stuff in terms of how we live and what routines we have that is repeating. So that repetition is obviously gonna settle itself in our brain more than maybe the more recent things that are also possibly concepts that are very new and foreign to us as individuals, because we grew up in a time that was very different on a technological level, in this case on a magic level, or on a mythology level, on how the world looked and how the power structures were and how communication worked and all of these things. Yeah, very interesting to think about all of these concepts here. But well, now we have a decision to make, right? Sein technically wants to go to Tyr. But we also need to go to 𝐸ßrst. The question is, would we be able to get to Tyr first and then go to 𝐸ßrst, or would we be stopped because we don't have a first grade mage? And then can we not go to 𝐸ßrst first and then to Tyr? But is Sein's friend actually gone once we arrive at Tyr? That is the thing that is giving him anxiety, that fear of just being behind. And not being able to catch up to him, because this is a thing of like, oh yeah, he went in that direction, that is the last kind of clue I have. If the clue gets cold, right, somebody who met his science friend was actually right and could tell us the information, moves away or possibly dies because it's an old person, right, and then the clue is lost and somebody's like, oh yeah, somebody like that was around here, I don't know where they went, they talked to old man whatever, but old man whatever is dead, or they talked to that young guy, they kind of had a thing going on where they were doing something together, but they headed off together or whatever, right? So the trail grows cold, and that is the anxiety that Sign is dealing with right here. And it's the matter of his heart, right? It's his best friend. It's the one thing that he still regrets, the one thing he wants settled. We're gonna take care of it. We have to take care of it. But yeah, this is gonna be an interesting show because it's gonna be also an intro comparison, I do think. I mean, we're gonna not directly compare them. Like I said, I don't have the time, and I think I don't have the mental energy to do it right now. Also, I do like to kind of let stuff like that have an effect on me, kind of just process it, both mentally and obviously in terms of emotions and whatnot. It takes a couple of episodes for me also to kind of just sometimes see the general the little intricate details about some things. So I think the best thing to do for me is just do a couple of episodes, and once I got like exams out of the way in February, it's probably gonna be 4 or 5 episodes later, but we're gonna break down the OP, compare both OPs a little bit, see what we can get out of that. But obviously we will have a short OP analysis just now, right? Like an impromptu thing where I'm like, okay, I noticed this, I noticed that. But yeah, let's get into reaction actually. I wanna watch it. I'm really excited about it. It's been I've been missing it during the Christmas holidays, and I do hope we can get back into that. Before we start, check out the Discord, check out the Patreon if you want to. There's 2 versions of this, edited reaction right here most probably. Don't know if I'm gonna get copyright, whatever, right? And picture in the description down below. But yeah, like, subscribe, all that jazz, and let's head over into reaction. Okay, it's a little bit cold, so I've put on my hoodie for now. Let's see how that works out for me. But Frieren, episode 17 of the first season. Is there gonna be a second season? I don't know. Frieren, episode 17 of the first season is gonna start in 3, 2, 1.
俺の旅の目的はこっちだ。10年前に旅に出た親友と合流することだ。
ゴリラの行き先分かった？
A little bit of a recap, makes sense. Oh, that is a beautiful shot. And Sign is agonizing over his decision. Alright, so we make camp. Oh, new intro. Butterfly. Okay. Interesting. I love the whatchamacallit, focus pull. The focus pull, really cool, really cool. Oh, nice. Oh, really? That is really cool. And we have the same as we had before, like with the flashes. Interestingly enough, new characters. new characters. And Himmel's back. A lot of doves. Wow. Okay, this looks like a greenhouse or some shit. No, who are those two? Maybe I'm stupid, but interesting angles, new characters, yeah. Some of them look very familiar, despite not being actual characters we've seen. Alright, this is an elf of some sort. I think this is the one we've seen in the first intro as well. An interesting 𝐸𝐷𝐸𝐿 moving away from Frieren, pulling her back to them, but take care, 𝐸𝐧𝐟𝐨𝐫𝐭. Is that it? I don't know. Oh, 𝐸𝐷 does his own mending. Cool. Oh, is she cold? Or was it just a... Oh, yes. I like that. That is a really affectionate thing to do, actually. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm used to that, right? Like a relative being like out in the cold and putting a hand on your cheek or something, and you're like, "Holy shit! Can you stop it?" That is relatable as fuck. Oh, I mean, great. It's blizzarding. It sure as hell is. Alright. Very nice of them that they let them use it. And more time to spend with one another, more time to prolong this decision, I guess. Your favorite kind of magic shop, I assume. Oh, okay. Oh no. I mean, very useful. Especially if you're on the road. Yeah, we've had that episode before. Exactly. Almost like fate, huh? Then again, we do like to make our decisions based. I mean, it's giving them an excuse, right? An excuse to spend more time together, which is nice. I did miss the music of this show. It's incredible. It's a shame I can't show it too much on YouTube. But if you watch the Pip, you're gonna see it, and this music is a real mood. Wonder how long it's been. Shit. Everybody was doing their own thing. Ooh. Okay. Oh, she's having trouble with it. Yeah, okay. Convenient to you to say. Convenient to do. I mean, they're definitely fighting. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, that checks out. That he's gonna talk to them. It's gonna be like, you make up, kids. Spill the beans, Stark. Okay. Yes, but... I just think she was surprised. This is a non-issue, honestly. They will often make a bigger deal out of non-issues. There's more to it. So why are you being stubborn? Yeah, I thought so. Kind of gave her a fright for a second. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I mean, sometimes that just happens when you don't expect it. Basically telling them both the same. Alright, nice. Oh, holy shit. Holy shit. Side being us. She's me for real. He's me for real. Perspective. We get to the heart of it, huh? Yeah, we talked about this. He wanted to kick your butt. And that, yes. Wow, that is confidence. Man had the riz. I can't. I mean, even if he didn't mean it that way in that moment. Yeah. It's great how other people can move us to emulate their behavior if we see something admirable in them. And maybe you growing and coming into yourself is actually what you would want. And when you meet You can be heroes together. Even if you spend time apart, you can still... I mean, imagine the stories you can exchange, right? Oh, but he's going after him. Okay. Fair enough. Are they going with him? Oh, okay. No, see you later. They're gonna meet up again. Two heroes parties on a journey. At some point there might be one again. Yeah, kind of. Still gonna be hard on him. He enjoyed his time. Even if it was a short time. But they'll see each other again. Fun memories, right? But they gave him that shove, right? That shove out. He wouldn't have gone out the door without them. And now he's moving on his own. It's like you helping... kind of funny, she said he's an adult, but it's like you helping a kid go out into the world and find their own way, and then at some point they start walking on their own. Even if they come back again later, right? Later in life. Look at Stark being the responsible guy. Bro can even cook, holy shit. I mean, you'll have to as an adventurer, but it's cool. It's really cool. Good enough. Something's wrong. They sick? Oh, she looks pretty feverish. Frieren is fine. Fern has an issue. Time to splash her with the water bucket, Stark. Or do it like that. Yeah, sometimes you just... Time to pull out the magic artifacts, the spells, the first aid shit. Oh, okay. They're gonna give her a medicinal bath or something. Or maybe a, like, inhale kind of stuff. I mean, you can still do a lot with knowledge. What? I'm sorry, what? Okay, funny. Alright, so, right, beginner level. Tends to happen, it happens, but if you're on the road, it's kind of difficult, right? Herbs. Very convenient, Frieren. Finding civilization somewhere. And obviously people, I think most people would be helpful here. And that is why she's on that road. I'm sorry about all the sniffing, by the way. It seems I'm getting a cold too. Keep it warm. I mean, yeah. That's cute. I think a lot of us people, a lot of us kind of tend to revert to being a little child or baby when we're cold. When we're sick. I do feel that way, right? When we're really sick. I'm not saying like a little bit sick, but more like. Talking like a true parent, Frieren. Interesting. Frieren kind of got the experience of being a mother without actually being a mother. Well, without being a biological mother, right? No. Is that reused animation or is it just a parallel? Either way, it's cool. I don't think, but Stark's constitution has to be really good. Icicle cherry blossom tree. Oh, okay. Mushrooms. Wow, that is a sight. I mean, it doesn't look like cherries, but... Wow, alright. When you're sick? Yeah, that too. Comforting someone who is in pain. Yeah. Exactly, how people interact. It's not always perfect, but... there's no perfect solution for anything. Yeah, and holding your hand is emotional support in a way. Yeah. They might be embarrassed about getting support, but they're not... Oh, elves can get sick. It's interesting. We'll talk about it in the discussion. Shut up. Just shut up. You'll ruin it. Yeah, like I said, it might be embarrassing, but you still like it. No. I mean, you just saw them, Stark. Alright, witch. I called it before he said it. Right. And we're working to thank them. Which makes sense, it's natural. let it happen. Adults need support too sometimes. It is... yeah. We're finally getting there. This might actually be the place where we meet some of these people. Ooh. No, holy shit. It's the mirror, right? I mean, I don't have lyrics, fucking hell. But... oh, I need to look up those lyrics next time, if they're not in the episode. Oh, this is an amazing choice. An answer to the first ED. I wish I could read it. It's like it, people talking to one another, right? One is Himmel and the other is Frieren. Oh, this is really cute with the like the little puppets. It feels very Shaft. Not entirely, but a little bit. Right, like Madoka. With the stop motion puppets. And interestingly enough, a big focus on Fen and Frieren. Ooh, okay, next time we do have the first class mage exam. Very, very cool, very interesting, and an incredible episode, right? Alright, guys, guys and girls, I'll see you back on YouTube. Alright, hey, what's going on, guys? We're actually gonna do something special right now, and I want to do that. We're gonna look at the ED, but at the complete one. I didn't realize, I mean, normally I often download music and whatnot for like the stuff I love in anime or whatnot. Maybe I even get something on Spotify, but honestly, I didn't realize that this was just one ED, right? This was just one song, the entire ED. So here's what we're gonna do. I don't have the lyrics to all of that, right? And I don't think I ever actually analyzed the lyrics of the thing in general. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna actually go into the beginning of the ED, right? We're going to the beginning of the ED of a specific thing. I'm gonna just edit that in a way to like just to start at the same. Alright. No, you know what? We do have it on the lyrics here. We're actually just gonna start and look at the second part, okay? But well, we're gonna look at the first part and the second part, but I'm gonna look at the first part just in VLC in here. Words more precious than a goodbye. Yeah, we've I forgot, but we've seen those lyrics. Things that couldn't have been. If I were to be born again, yeah, I remember now. Yeah. And I feel like this is Himmel, right? Lost in my days of loneliness. It might be Frieren though. Might be Frieren, and we might be looking at a situation where then the answer to that is actually what, and this is something that maybe at this point Himmel is singing. I mean, it's still our singer from like Millet. That's the artist who is doing this, but yeah. So we're gonna start this second part in 3, 2, 1. I hear you. The wind is rustling. My long hair, so it's Frieren. Huh? Everything makes sense. Even the days when we stood still. That I've caught up with you. Look, if it wasn't for these eyes, I wouldn't be able to see these things. Why is overflowing? I mean, it's not perfect. If I have to be reborn again, I guess I will choose this place again. Yeah. It's a continuation. So if I meet you again. Alright, so it is not a duet, it's Frieren. I won't let you go again. I will choose now. Wherever you are, show me your smile. Alright. Whenever I close my eyes. Alright, so the lyrics aren't perfect. Right. I don't know which part of the song that is. It's probably the full song, and we still have like a shortened version here. I can maybe get that up again here. Let me see. Even the ways when we stood still, so we're back on that. Yeah, it's a little bit longer, I think, than it would be here on our ED. The lyrics aren't perfect, I noticed, but it's still enough to give you kind of a sense. Oh yeah, this is actually where we have the extension that isn't in the actual AD. But it's beautiful. Like anytime, anywhere, and then always the. At least I won't say I miss you. Can I remember you only today? I like that. I'm no longer lost. The pain in my heart. That proved that I was with you. That is a nice translation. And it ends the same way, of course. Yeah, interesting. I'll have to wait on the actual lyrics of the song, I guess, but these rough lyrics actually gave us a little bit of an idea of what this is. And at first I thought it might have been a duet where it's like the answer, because the first ED starts with "Are you alright?" or "And you alright? Can you hear me?" And then it's like kind of like "Yes, I'm alright." But I guess this is more of asking yourself, right? Talking to him, but also like some of us talk to our dead relatives, right? It's just like, "Hey, it's me. How you doing?" But we're talking to ourselves as well, right? We're reflecting, we're processing, we're kind of trying to process our own emotions and our own connections and whatnot. And in that sense, maybe Frieren was saying to herself, yes, I'm all right. I'm on my way to. I'm on this journey, and I appreciate it, and I'm really glad I went out on this journey and realized so many things that maybe parts of them I have known before, I've felt before, I've been aware of before, but now I'm actually, instead of looking away from them or brushing them away, or I'm actually going into them, towards them. I'm familiarizing them and processing them and appreciating them for what they are, even if they're sad, even if I'm lost in loneliness, if I'm walking this lonely little road, it's still giving me joy, and I'm kind of remembering them in nostalgia, and I'm taking something with me from that, something positive that is gonna lead me on my way towards you in this case, because obviously we do have that unique plot element of heaven being at the end of our journey, and hopefully maybe there being a little bit of closure. But no matter where you arrive in the end, no matter where Frieren ends up in the end, I do feel that she's gonna be alright, and I think this is maybe the point. Right now, episode 17, whatnot, we've seen more and more of her smiling, more and more of her just not only being sad and walking in the paths of her past, but more just enjoying walking in the paths of her past, and just talking to people she knew before, and just going to all the places she was with him. And I think at this point in time, maybe this is the point when she realizes, yes, I'm gonna be alright. Maybe I'm not alright in single moments here and there, and it hurts a lot sometimes, and sometimes I'm really lonely, but I'm gonna be okay. Which is very interesting parallel to what we see in the OP. We have to look about, like, see the lyrics of the OP is probably gonna be next week or the week after, where we can see them. But we see a lot of focus on maybe not a lot of focus, but we have that one shot where we do have Stark and Fern actually turning their backs on Frieren and going forward, and Frieren staying back a little bit. In my opinion, that might represent them taking on a more prominent role in the story or in general, and Frieren taking more of a backseat, maybe not in terms of emotional themes and whatnot, but taking a backseat in the way of just walking with them, still being there for the support, but actually being less of the prominent central figure here. It doesn't necessarily have to be the case. The series is still called Frieren. It might be that you would just go in different ways, as we have just now with Sign. Sign is going his own journey, and I'm sure we're gonna meet him. Or maybe we were gonna have an episode that is just Sign, because now we've met Sign as a character and we've established him as somebody we can identify with, and we know how he is. So possible that at some point we're gonna have an episode where it's just Sign and we just see his perspective on what he's going through right now. That might also be a thing that only happens when we meet up back with him again, where we're like, okay, there's Sign, interesting, what have you been through? And then we're gonna go into a flashback and see maybe half an episode of just what he was doing, or maybe an entire episode, but like with the cliffhangers, like we meet Sign and there's the cliffhanger of Sign being like, thinking back on what he was doing since he left since he kind of split ways with Frieren and Stark and Fern. And then we kind of see it in the next episode for an entire episode. It might also be a way to do it. But yeah, really, really nice. I do love the continued theme, right? We do have... The OP is a little bit different, but I like the sound of the OP, and I see what the lyrics are about. And the ED actually being one song, I didn't know that. Right, you have the first part of the song in the first half of the core, and then you have the second part of the song in the second half of the core, which is pretty fucking cool. But yeah, we're gonna move through it. Well, we're gonna do it the usual way, Yeah, reminiscing back on that, we are thinking a lot about it, and it's hard to make a decision, which makes perfect sense, right? It makes perfect sense that it's a very hard time to make a decision. We're gonna look at the OP later. It's very hard to make such grand life, like such grand decision, right? Split ways with somebody you've been traveling with for a while, but we're actually getting saved more or less by the weather, in this case, by the snowstorm coming out. So we spend a little bit additional time with each other, although, as they note later, they're not always all together, which it kind of makes sense, right? You're in your routine, you're doing your thing, and normally you're out traveling, you're being together a lot, but now it's just like you doing whatever you enjoy doing in your free time, in your recreational time and whatnot, and then you right, maybe you know that from your own experiences being together with family or friends or whatever, and you're like, okay, we're gonna do so much stuff together, and in the end just the logistics of living are kind of leading you in a way that yes, you spend some time together and it's quality time and it's cool to, like, right, it's enjoyable and whatnot, but there's a lot of time in between where you're just doing your own thing, and then you look back and you realize, damn, I haven't done all that much together, right? But yeah, Fern is cold, and it's an actual mood with what I'm like. This is so real. You're out in the winter getting whatever, right? Doing shopping or just having to do something and going out the door for it, and you come back and it's like your hands are freezing. But yeah, it's very relatable what Fern is doing here. It's like she has that urge. She's like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna try it. She's like, here you go. Get some of my cold. And that's just kind of a quirky but also affectionate thing somebody's doing, right? Like it's something that kind of displays a certain familiarity with one another, which is very cool. It's snowing outside. We're at the fireplaces and whatnot, and yeah, I'm a little bit peeved about. They all have very, very drab faces on them, so yeah. But yeah, the reasonable decision is to just stay, and I think Frieren is a little bit happy about her magic shop thing that she has. She's happy as long as she has her books and her spells and whatnot. She's all right. But yeah, they're gonna have to be careful. The cold is not to be. Underestimated. And I see you, Fern, peeking Stark here, working out. All right, I see you. She's not reading that book. I'm pretty sure she's not reading that. I mean, she's reading that book, but you know. Frieren's getting into them spells, but we do have a little bit of another argument on our hands, and that's just how it be, right? That's just how it be. First of all, they're kids, or teenagers, let's say it like that. It's gonna be a normal thing, right? That they have their moments where they argue and whatnot. Where they're mad at each other, but most of the time it's actually Fen being mad at Stark for some kind of reason, and it's obviously always not as simple as it seems at first, because yeah, I mean, even Stark's like, yeah, it's my fault, but isn't really communicating properly, so we do have that communication issue again, and he went in for the revenge, And I guess, I mean, I think she said later that it's like his strong grip on the right, but I think it's just in general, right? You are in a moment where you're surprised and maybe shocked for a second about something happening that you didn't expect. And then obviously it's easy to kind of slip into that I'm upset mode and not let go of it. I mean, this is just fun pranks that people play on one another. It's not even children. Like, I've seen that adults do that as well. So it's just people who are very familiar with one another, family, whatever, friends, significant others. It's a common thing, but that shocked her a little bit. And I think she also was maybe kind of a little bit that's my own way of putting an interpretation of that, but I think she was also a little bit upset and embarrassed, maybe, yeah, about being that shocked in the first place, if there was no real reason to be. But then that turns into stubbornness and not wanting to admit that maybe you were wrong, or maybe you kind of had a reaction that you yourself didn't even like. But yeah, communicate, right? Just apologize, be like, all right, I'm sorry. But yeah, he was a little bit too rough, which makes sense, right? Stark is a warrior, he's very strong, he trains a lot and whatnot. It's easy to underestimate your strength in a moment and just accidentally be a little bit too rough, and then she kind of got freaked out a little bit, and that's all that is, all there is to it. I absolutely love Sign. He's like me for real. Like, just start dating already. This is the sentence of the entire episode. It's fucking amazing. It's like, holy shit, get your act together. I can't with you people. It's like he's watching this with us. Yeah. And Frieren's kind of praising him, and he's like, you're treating me like a kid. She's like, you are a kid in my eyes, right? You might be adult and you might be responsible and whatnot, but you kind of like, compared to me, you're a kid. But yeah, she says that, like, holy shit, Himmel has risen. Himmel is the man, right? He being like, I'm gonna become your reason for traveling, and just saying that so confidently. And with his usual very calm and self-assured demeanor. What I'm really curious about is Himmel in moments of weakness. Because Himmel, we see Himmel as this shining figure, and maybe that's our lens that we see it through, because it's Frieren's point of view. All we know about Himmel, or 99% we know about Himmel, is from Frieren's point of view, from her memory, from what she knows about him and what she thinks about him. So that might be rose-colored glasses, right? That might be seeing all the good things and not the negative, or not even negative, but weak things, right? And I'm very curious about, because we've seen most of the characters in this entire show being vulnerable at some point. We've never seen Himmel actually being vulnerable. The closest we've come to that was the moment when he actually didn't manage to pull the sword out of the stone. But even then he acted with confidence and with defiance and with a very optimistic attitude. I do want to see him vulnerable, not because I like to see people suffer or vulnerable, but because it kind of would characterize him a lot more for me. It would kind of just round out his character from what we know. At the moment he's so self-assured, he doesn't have a lot of flaws. Like, yeah, he has his like, I'm so pretty. I'm sorry. Fucking hair. Okay. I'm so pretty. Right? But he does that playfully, right? He knows he's joking halfway. I mean, he's a little bit vain, but he's also very, very aware that is a little bit too much. But he does it because it's fun for him to do it. And that makes sense, right? It's very fun to goof around like that sometimes and just lean into it. But we haven't seen any other flaws of him, right? Aside from the stone thing, which is a flaw in the sense of that he didn't fulfill some kind of prophecy that was was put down, but that doesn't have to mean anything, right? I think it would be very interesting to see down the line maybe somebody who remembers Himmel directly, other than somebody like Old Man Vollhug who can't remember all that much anymore, or to have Frieren actually reflect on something that is Himmel in a vulnerable situation, as we've seen this episode, Frieren actually being in a vulnerable situation, which is something we haven't seen that often either, aside from her emotional vulnerability in the early episodes. But yeah, Sein thinking a lot about this, but making the decision to part ways. Still, he remembers the party fondly, and I think that, yeah, that is the picture, right? He really enjoyed his time here, as being like kind of the uncle or older brother kind of deal, and just tagging along and having that adventure alive. And maybe I think that is my thought process. They'll meet up again, and this time he will be maybe hopefully with Gorilla, or maybe has more of a more recent trace to Gorilla, and then he can actually kind of get into it and travel with them again, and then they're an even more complete heroes party, and Frieren's role will be even more backseat, right? Because then you have an actual complete party of 4. It doesn't need to be a party of 4, right? You don't have a rule of 4 or something. We had the party of 2 with Kraft and whoever he traveled with, and we had other constellations as well. I mean, the heroes party with Himmel, they traveled as 3 people for a long time, I would assume, but I assume that it's possible they just met, but they seemed very familiar, and Haito was from his hometown, so. And yeah, and then we have the second part, which is, in the beginning I was just like, oh nice, we have a little bit of a cozy scene, see what Stark is doing, but actually we have a problem. Fan doesn't react because she is sick, which we should have known, because it's unusual for her to not be up and to not be the one who wakes up early and who's responsible and whatnot. And Frieren is very irresponsible in this situation. If Stark wasn't here, she wouldn't have noticed. But then again, I mean, if Stark wasn't here, maybe she wouldn't have acted quite the same way, because if you think about it, if you have somebody else there who is somewhat responsible, right? Somewhat acting responsibly, you have somebody you can rely on, right? You have somebody who you can share the burden of taking care of others with, or taking care of each other, and just, yeah. But I like how he's just going in with the cold hand. He's like, she ain't gonna wake up, I'm just gonna do this. And that's gonna wake you up. And he doesn't mind, right? That's the thing, but that's also, in my opinion, Frieren has a very different attitude in this regard, and with Fan and Stark actually having that little bit of like romantic tension between them, that is also a thing that changes the way you interact with people, especially if it's not confirmed yet, right? If you're not dating yet. And I think that's also part of what Sign means with like, just fucking start dating already, then we maybe don't have half of these issues. You might still have them, right? But it's a different way to interact with one another once you've settled, right? Once you've confirmed all of that and made the decision. But yeah, she's got a fever. Shit happens. But also very funny that she's using the the sacred text as a stand for the teapot. But yeah, we're actually seeking shelter and finding a way to kind of just get her into the warmth. And Frieren is holding her hands, and we kind of go into the why is she doing that. We have a little bit of an excerpt of, right, like Frieren being very much a mother, being very much a parent, as in she was this little just a second ago, and I'll always see her like this, and that's very endearing, because like I said, without being actually being a biological mother, she gets that experience. It's almost like, I mean, we knew that already, but it reconfirms it, right? It reinforces it that Frieren is kind of Fan's adoptive mother, basically. And that's how it was back in the day. I mean, I mentioned it one time. Back in the day, like, let's say before the Industrial Revolution, even in India, but in the Industrial Revolution, but before that especially, you had these master and apprentice relationships where somebody was learning in vocation or something, and they were traveling with their master, who was their teacher basically, but at the same time was kind of like a replacement parent, because they were traveling with them at that point and they were responsible for raising them, and kind of there was also probably a lot of affection going on here, right? We do have that parallel shot of the turtle, which is really, really neat. We in I think episode 4 or something, we do have Fan actually feeding the turtle with Frieren, when they were looking for, no, it was even episode 2 or 3, I think, where they were looking for the blue moon wheat flower that grew in Himmel's hometown, and now we have the reverse shot with like Stark doing the same. And they arrive at this beautiful, beautiful tree that blooms in winter. And she says she wished Fern could have seen it. I mean, they can still go there, but maybe it's way out there and they don't want to make that extra journey. It's dangerous after all in winter. But we will look back for a second on Himmel. And I actually wanted to say something in that regard. We've talked a lot about how most of the experiences that we see, like most of the emotional lessons and the social lessons that Frieren is having either in the show or kind of reminiscing back on, go back to Himmel in a way, which makes it very hard to not immediately jump to the conclusion that once she has a new thing where it's like, okay, I learned that in the past, or I learned to appreciate that, or I realized that we wouldn't assume that it goes back to Himmel, which is, yeah, I mean, the show makes it very hard for us to attribute anything that's going on with Frieren's emotional development and social development back to anybody other than Himmel, which on the one hand is a continuing theme, because Himmel is one of the main factors that really changed her life on a very fundamental level, but at the same time we do have other influential factors like Flam, or even before that possibly the way she grew up and people she knew back then, because she spent a decent amount of life before she even met Flam. So it's very hard to keep that open mind and be like, okay, I am aware that there are other people and other things, that other events that could have happened that had nothing to do with Himmel, that might be responsible for her developing certain habits or having certain thoughts or realizations. But it's very hard to do that because Himmel is such an influential factor in her life. He was the influential factor in her life. But yeah, again, like I said earlier, vulnerable Frieren, very, very nice to see, because it kind of deepens the character, right? It shows us another moment, another side of Frieren that we don't get to see all that often. Somebody who in the moment is struggling and feels weak, is not in control. And like she said, I think this is a thing, like the soothing that other people kind of treating you somewhat like a child, or like somebody younger doting on you when you're sick, because and us actually enjoying it and kind of sometimes even reverting back to that kind of kid or young person behavior, being very childish in many ways when we're sick, because we do desire that to have that feeling that somebody else is there for us, and actually there, because we feel very vulnerable, we feel very much out of control of our own destiny, and that's why it's such a hard experience for all of us adults to actually take care of ourselves when we're sick, because it's not, right, especially when we're single, it's not that easy, right? Everything takes effort, and we feel like we're halfway dying, and then we should still manage to go to the doctor, right? Drive to the doctor in many cases, get our recipes, buy them, right? Get food, make ourselves some food, right? Sometimes you don't even have the energy to do so. You barely have the energy to drink enough water when you're sick. So it's a very interesting aspect of ourselves, but also on a social level by reverting back to that state of just also acting very vulnerable, acting very childlike, kind of animating other people to take care of you, right? You're basically triggering in other people socially what you seek from them actually taking over the control and being like, I'm there for you, don't worry, I'm your security net, I'm your safety net, and once you're back up, you can take care of yourself, but for now just let go and focus everything on recovering yourself. There are other situations besides being sick that also where some of these principles also apply, but yeah, it's very interesting to kind of highlight that episode. And I feel like Frieren is one of the only shows that can really make a plot point out of being sick, aside from, I don't know, your usual standard anime rom-com where it's like you're sick and then you get an exciting visit from your crush or whatever. That's kind of the typical thing because one person is vulnerable and the other one gets the chance to kind of take care of them and be a little bit more intimate and familiar with them. But at the same time, aside from that, like, I haven't seen an isekai or an adventure show or fantasy show or whatever, or haven't seen a lot of them where this was really a plot point and was done as well as it is, and where we see as many themes were actually connected to that. Sometimes just like a cute little episode or a cute little half of an episode where you see something like that, but this is actually dense material, right? This is actually things that keep you and get you thinking about concepts and further kind of flesh out the characters that we already know. But yeah, Fan very happy to be taken care of, accepted even though she's embarrassed, and that's what we do, right? We're a little bit embarrassed about like being treated like a child, but in the end, like these are the moments that we need that. And as things are going, we're gonna move on, and we'll get into 𝐸𝐧𝐟𝐨𝐫 now in the Magic Academy, which is a perfect segue actually to get us into the last piece of our content right here for this episode. So this one might run a little bit long. We're going for the intro analysis actually. Now I can't play the intro fully. It's kind of a little bit of a shame. I can't play the intro fully, but here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put it on twice speed. No, 1.5 speed. I'm gonna watch it for a hot minute. I'm gonna cut that part out, and then we're gonna talk about it as we do talk about the episode in general. Alright, we do have the focus pull. Which I really like. Butterflies flying away. The new color is really nice. Those little Frieren moments here. Somebody walking away from Frieren. Interesting. We have some of these, right, and yeah, I remember that Fan with her original spell kind of deal. I don't know, I kind of feel like I know this character. I don't know this one. It does seem like mages, so it's probably like a mage academy kind of thing. It feels like that. Look at like what Mushoku Tensei and whatnot. And we do have that character that was in the previous in the previous OP as well. We have the heroes party and Fan smiling and Stark and Fan turning around and Frieren looking at them. And then both of their staffs, which I find very cool because in the beginning, like the last OP, we actually had the final shot, Frieren taking the walk, right? Taking the first step and going on her journey. And then we have her little wreath of flowers that she got from Himmel and that we saw in the second episode of the show. But now we do have that new, really detailed, really gorgeous looking picture of a bed and the two staffs basically being on it. And they have kind of like very different themes, but I like how they have the kind of like jewels that kind of look like Frieren's earrings on both of them, connected with those bindings there. Yeah, I'm not gonna cut it out actually. You'll just have to be okay with me doing the commentary without you guys actually seeing it, or me just putting up maybe 1 or 2 pictures. I don't know how much time I have for that. But yeah, we're going back, and we're gonna look into some of these. Yeah, we do have the focus pull, which I absolutely like. You do start out with the butterfly on the flower, right? Can't say a lot about that with pollination or whatnot. And then we zoom in on Frieren's book, and she's not fully in the shot, but it's really well done. And then you kind of stand up with her and focus on her face afterwards. As always, VLC is actually messing up. Again, I'll say that in various reactions. I'll need to get a new player to actually properly play me these things. It's kind of annoying how VLC sometimes just messes up the frames. But yeah, we'll go into, interestingly enough, not just Stark and Fern and Frieren, but also Sign. So I hope Sign is here to stay, is coming back at some point. We do have the new color of the thing, which I don't know, maybe I'll use that as a thumbnail. Actually, it would be kind of cool to just change it up, right? Instead of the thing on the side, I'm actually putting it somewhere at the top, and then I have more space to have an actual cool thumbnail, and kind of can just move the Frieren around wherever I need it and wherever it's not in the way, because sometimes YouTube you have to kind of look like that. Sometimes like it shows the hours and minutes on the lower right, so you can't put it there because then it's obscured and whatnot. But yeah, and them traveling, which is cool. And we actually, I love that. We're just taking the frame, like, right, we're walking in front of a frame and then taking it with us. And we have a nice pattern underneath. Then we flashed you a couple of things like Frieren's habits, sleeping habits, and Fan taking care of her, and them actually being somewhat of a family, eating together. Frieren taking the hand of somebody. Not sure who this is. We also have somebody in the back that I don't know, 2 people. And that is 2 people actually meeting them on the way. Interesting. So they meet them on their journey, those 2. Or maybe this is like a village scene. Give me a second. More cutting work for me, but that's fine. Or maybe this is kind of like a village scene where we do have the 2 of them kind of greeting, or town stuff in 𝐲𝐻𝐻, for example, where they just greet each other and they're part of each other's daily or bi-daily routine, which can also be a thing. We do have Frieren and Flam. Really cool to have that in the intro, to see that kind of as very well done in terms of the shot. I want to mention, if you look at that and how it's displayed in the back, we have Frieren's face, right? And Flam and Frieren walking together and their memories together, representing the memories together. It's in the back of her mind, right? Physically in the intro, which represents, right, her thinking back on it and it being lingering in her mind. Really cool. And then she's looking somewhere else, and this is interesting. It could be a shot of the hero's party, her looking at the memories, because this on the one side, on the left side, looks kind of like Himmel's cloak, like his white cloak, and on the right side that could be Heiter, and then the short right Himmel, almost helmet kind of thing that's looking out there could be Eisen's helmet. So her looking at the hero's party, possibly. And then we have her again looking at the back of Himmel. Himmel is going ahead of her. Himmel is right. Himmel is already moved on, voluntarily or involuntarily. We don't know that, but yeah. And we have all of these doves flying here with. I'm kind of surprised that that this isn't actually. Now we have a nice shot. All of these doves, and doves, in my opinion, often represent, aside from peace and whatnot, they could be an age of peace, right? Himmel brings about the age of peace, and that's what the representation of it could also be, kind of marriage, right? Because if I remember correctly, many movies, and especially also Japanese and American culture do kind of connect doves with marriage, with happy occasions such as marriage. So yeah, very heavy symbolism here. That is a greenhouse somewhat. This could be water, but I don't think it's water. I think it's like a floor, kind of like a marble floor or something. But yeah, a greenhouse, and we see a possibly very young Flum. So Flum's origins confirmed. Flum's origins, and it would make sense with the greenhouse, right? She did the force field and tree thing when we were in Graf Conrad's domain. We saw that flashback where she was building that force field out of that tree. And she did the same, I think, with the berry and the tree when she was hiding her own scriptures when Frieren actually uncovered them when she was with Eisen, very beginning of the series. We do have like 3 or 4 people who are whose shadows we see here. They're general outlines. I do recognize none of them. It's going to be very interesting who those are and if they're connected to Flum. Flowers, interesting, cool flowers, very prominent white flowers, right? We do have an old master, possibly in Flums, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, him, and we do have like the stairs of some kind of Roman-esque looking architecture in the back. We don't see his face, interestingly enough. Let me go back a little bit to see. Oh yeah, actually we're gonna put that on half speed. No. We're gonna put that in half speed, almost half speed. Yeah, we do have something here. Like a structure, looking at it from upside down, right? It's like I said, the same Roman looking like stairs kind of thing, and then like some kind of government building. It almost looks like. If you ever read those old Asterix comics, that they were very popular in Europe. Those had kind of those structures when they were kind of displaying structures of the Roman Empire. And then we have 2 elves being together here, interestingly enough, and we zoom in from down upwards to Frieren. We swoosh around her, which is cool. We do have Fan and the butterflies. I really like that callback because that was one of the spells that she learned for first when she started doing magic with Hyter. We do have these 2 characters, which look like the ones that we actually met when we were working past each other in the beginning of the OP. They might even seem a little bit younger. They seem like mages, so maybe they're gonna be at the academy, right? We do have ice magic going on here and a lot of other like offensive magic. Somewhat of an older looking person with like a monocle. And this one might also be a new person. Very interesting angle on that shot. Is she running or something? And this guy, I don't know what's this guy. She's very nefarious looking here. Almost looks like Linia from earlier in the show. This guy, very interesting. We don't show the face, we don't show the eyes, only the glasses to get a kind of a stereotypical idea of who he might be, and some blood here. So there's some what could be going on here? There's some challenges they have to overcome, some wounds they will feel, but they're not severe, right? They're not severe. It's something that hurts, but that they have to go through possibly in order to grow as a person. Another mage right here looks almost like it's stupid that VLC is doing that, but looks almost like water magic or some shit. But yeah, possibly related to the exam. We have this character who kind of low-key looks a little bit like Aura, but just from the like general, it could just be the art style and it's not the exact haircut, right? Because Aura had these braids that came out of it, so it doesn't have to be the case. And we do have this other character who is very interesting looking. It reminds me kind of like one of the characters in the season 1 Jujutsu Kaisen intros, but I don't know who he is or what he's doing. Certainly gonna be a very close connection between the two, and maybe we get backstory. And we do have some aristocratic looking people here. probably also connected to the Magic Academy. Maybe we get some political stuff even, right? Mushoku Tensei style. Yeah, hopefully not that way, but maybe a little bit, right? Like noble scheming, whatever. And we have this person, very interesting. Seems to me almost like this is a sequence of like we're starting with a forest, we're going over into like a market kind of place, and then we're going even further. It seems like this person has existed for generations, right? For eons. And we do have all of these elf-looking people, right? There were more elves around, at least at that point in time, before the demons partially exterminated them. We also have like a toga kind of robe, which also makes it seem like very, very ancient, right? We're going through hallways. This is kind of like a market city place. She looks very, very downtrodden, deadpan, very... But now she's smiling, right? Now she's smiling, and we do have that almost king's robe, right? So Demon King, question mark? Demon Queen, Demon King. Could also be very androgynous, might not be a girl, might actually be a boy, right? Or a man. So yeah. And Frieren actually opening her eyes to that, very interesting. And them standing in front of somebody, right? There's the legs here, her and Fan. Interestingly enough, Stark is not here. So I do wonder if Stark goes his own way at some point, or maybe is in some way preoccupied, whatever. Fan smiling and turning around with Stark going in a certain direction while Frieren looks on but remains standing. And this might be 𝐕𝐧𝐻, right? Because what else could it be? I mean, it could be some kind of other city, or maybe even the capital, right? This actually, now that I think about it, this might be the capital. And this might actually be them going to the capital for some official reason. But yeah, and we ended on the two staffs. As I've already said, very detailed drawing, very beautiful and gorgeous drawing. I would use it as a thumbnail, but it's not an eye catch in that way. So yeah, but very, very cool. Very cool start. A lot to read out of the intro and everything else. That's pretty much it for Frieren episode 17. I think I'll see you next week. Before you go, like, subscribe, all of that jazz. You know the deal. I don't have to elaborate. I do have a Patreon with early access and whatnot. I do have a Discord. Would love you to join us to just talk casually about all of this stuff. Maybe theorize as well, without spoilers, of course, and all that. I hope you'll tune in next time when we look at Frieren episode 18. Until then.
You